Welcome to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show with me, Brenda Hector. I'm a business growth specialist helping business owners to develop themselves and grow their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. I'm on a mission to revolutionise the entrepreneurial landscape for women in business. In every podcast episode, I interview someone who has an inspiring story or some great advice for women aiming to start or scale their businesses. If you're new to the show, take a moment to subscribe right now so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and please check out the previous ones. We have an awesome Facebook community. Just search for Scale Her Up and join in. I am so pleased today to have Fiona Duguid from i7 Ventures with me. Fiona, thank you for coming on Scale Her Up.
You're very welcome. I'm very delighted to have been invited to join you.
Let's start with the business. i7 Ventures, what is it that you do?
What I do is actually quite a lot more complicated. So i7, we call it i7V, but it's Indigo Seven Ventures.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You can't know that. And so Indigo Seven Ventures is a small investment company. And my husband and I started it just before COVID. Not that we planned that, but because we wanted to do some work he has two older children. And we felt that there was real benefit in working alongside them to pass on our experience and to also see if we could show them some areas around investment that would be valuable. In fact, it's our first investing effort. Both my husband and I have worked a lot in more operational roles. And one of the investments that we're in has grown very fast. And he and I both actually, I would say 85% of my time is actually spent in that investment. I am the Chief Information Officer for Aurora Energy Services. So that takes up a lot of my bandwidth. I do run one of our investments in Indigo Seven Ventures, which is called Expo Design. And it might not be that clear from it was on i7V, but we wanted to have a focus on sustainability and the sort of doing good in the world, perhaps. So the company that I'm the managing director for, the investment that I run, works with a engineered fibreboard that is made out of recycled cardboard. And the company that creates the board takes the recycled cardboard, and they have a patented method for combining it with particular glue, and it gets a honeycomb structure, and it's then very strong and it prints beautifully. And we use that for a number of different things, such as exhibition stands, these activations, these one-off things that are often built in MDF and are very bad for the environment and very unsustainable. And so this board gives a really different slant on that. So I run Expo Designs in my spare time, which I don't really have a lot of. And my day job is the Chief Information Officer role for Aurora. And we meet probably every month. We have a call, and we meet every probably 3 months quarterly to look at all of the investments. So each of us in Indigo Seven Ventures has a primary role in one or other of our investments. And we get together to talk through how those investments are doing. There you go. That's a bit of a snapshot.
No, thank you very much. And I'm just going to go back, and that's absolutely awful that I got the name of the company wrong, but the abbreviation and the long one, and I got myself a bit muddled up. So I'm very sorry about that.
That's okay. It's more than I get. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Quite
Portfolio.
Yes, but yeah, the serial entrepreneur.
I would describe my husband as the serial entrepreneur, but I have certainly backed him all the way, and he wouldn't have been able to do what he did without me in the background. And he would be the first to acknowledge that. But yeah, certainly when you've been on the sidelines for 35 years, it's not as difficult to step into the role.
So tell me about your journey then to the roles you have today. Yeah.
So I started out in life studying mechanical engineering at the University of Cape Town. In fact, I started in studying medicine and I got halfway through 1 year and decided that was not for me. And I then, through a number of steps, it was recommended that I look at engineering. And I thought, I'll apply and see how I get on. I thought it would be too difficult, and it definitely was challenging, but I worked my way through and graduated. And I worked in the nuclear industry in South Africa for a couple of years. I had a very large student loan that I was making absolutely no dent in whatsoever. And because my dad was English, I was able to get a visa to work in the UK, which I did. And I ended up in London, as so many South Africans do. And when I looked at the jobs I was a relatively inexperienced engineer, and they are not well paid in London. And part of my journey, I had some coding skills, and I realized that I could get paid a hell of a lot more as a development software engineer than I could as a junior engineer, which is crazy, but so it was at the time in the 80s and 90s in London. And I segued my career into technical software development. And I worked my way up the ladder around software and tech in every form of it: training, selling, project managing, on every side of it. My husband and I spent 5 years based in Venezuela, and my role was I covered all of Latin America. So I spent most of my life on a plane working in that area. Loved it. Loved Latin America. Loved working there. It was fantastic. And then we moved back to the UK. At the time, a lot of the whole time that I was there, I worked for Halliburton. They had a technical software arm that isn't particularly well known, but that's where I worked. And when I came back to the UK, I continued in that role. I became the senior account manager for most of the big operators in Aberdeen and Europe. So I traveled frequently to Europe for Total and Eni Agip. And I also, BP was one of my clients. So I traveled frequently to Houston, where the head office was. And I then decided I would have children. And that didn't work that well with the role I had at the time with Halliburton. And I decided to have a career change. So I stepped out of that.
This would be, I'm just counting. So this would be about the third career change, because you changed from medicine to engineering. You changed from training
Wasn't in medicine very long, but yes,
to the more the
software
coding side of stuff. Yeah. And now you're changing again.
I'm doing what I did. It's under a different label, but my experience and my journey all contributes very strongly to what I do today. It didn't feel, I would definitely say that engineering to the software, that was a real career shift. Everything else has been more of an evolution.
Okay.
But I did, because I did change into the sales arena, but it felt very natural. It was technical sales. I understood everything that I was selling, and I offered a product that made a big difference to my customers' lives. So it really wasn't difficult. And yes, then you do learn how to manage with customers and how to manage commercially. When you sell a project effectively, you've got to make sure that it's going to work for the customer and for you. And I think it's relevant probably to your podcast that I have always been one of very few women, if not the only woman in the arena that I was in. So that is just something that came with the territory, I would say. So
did you feel that made it difficult to build your career and business?
I think when I was studying, at first, I didn't have the confidence. It worried me that I wasn't male. I thought that they must know more than I did. But a couple of years in, you work out that's absolutely not the case. And certainly by the time I got my degree, I had no worries in that regard. And almost sometimes you think you do better because you work harder. But in my career, it was never an issue with working in that environment. I would say there were issues around trying to get my salary commensurate with my male peers. That was a real battle to get there. Yeah. It's
The gender pay gap is still massive in a lot of industries. Yeah.
probably in almost all of them. I think there's a lot of contributing factors to that. And I'm not sure that everyone really thinks through the complexities of that. The truth is that most women will stay longer in a job because they feel comfortable there, because change is a bit harder. So there's and women are more loyal. So they stay longer in a job than they probably should. And when you look at the way that a male person in that role might behave, they jump faster, and each move is typically where you might get a salary raise. So that's a factor that women stay and men move. And it's very much almost like an intrinsic part of how they behave. But there are other factors. There's no question that in a male-dominated field, I also think, and I was definitely guilty of this, I didn't recognize the value that I brought early enough. And I therefore didn't push to be valued and paid in accordance with what I was bringing the business that I was in. So I developed a very tough exterior and negotiating stance eventually around getting what I was due, and that paid off. But easy, and I had a huge amount of coaching and support from my husband, who just said, "They're taking the mickey."
So that I was going to ask, what support or what would actually make a difference then to women like yourself? Because I'm sure there are many more in that position, not
Many
being
more.
valued to the
Yeah,
as they should be. What can we change? What would make that difference?
I think coaching could make a huge difference. There's that knowledge, that awareness of this is how. So it isn't just it's all the men's fault. I think it's really important to recognize the role that women play inadvertently in arriving at that place, and starting as early as you can in your career to recognize that how you are recompensed is very much in your hands. And I think women assume that if they do a good job, it'll be recognized and they'll get paid. And men don't make that assumption, and they never act as though that is the case. They do a lot of their personal PR. They do a lot of pushing to get raises and to get paid more. And I did read this statistic, and I thought it was quite interesting. I can't remember the number, but the difference between when women read a job description and apply for a job, you'll know it, that they feel they have to tick every box. And they often won't apply. They won't have the confidence to apply unless they do. And some men only need about 20%. And so it's learning that actually it's okay. You shouldn't be moving into a job that you can already do. You should be moving into a job where there's growth.
It's going to stretch you.
And that's going to stretch you. So I think that coaching around that, but coaching around language and body language and how you work with your colleagues, male and female, and how you present yourself. I think coaching around that, particularly for younger women in their 20s, can make a huge difference. And not every woman can make that alteration. And I think it takes practice.
Yeah.
And I would say a regular mentors would be huge. I think that every young professional woman should be looking to have at least 2 or 3 mentors in their life that they maybe have a call with or meet for a coffee a couple of times a month, that just to learn. And I just don't think men are going to do that for us. They just don't.
Yeah.
So coaching, can it be addressed? Yes, it absolutely can be addressed. I think that coaching and courses, there's some lovely, fantastic courses out there. And so don't think it'll just happen. You need to take it by the scruff of the neck and go,
Hold it. Yeah.
if I want to get paid fairly, I'm going to need to drive that.
That's a really good message. An amazing message. Yeah. I'm going to get my daughters to listen to this.
My daughters listen to me. But I feel strongly about it because women bring a different energy to a role and they bring different things. And I definitely don't think that women are always better than men. But what I do think is that a diverse team is better than a non-diverse team.
Absolutely.
And working together, you can do fantastic things.
So you mentioned your husband.
Yes.
He's obviously been a great support and coach for you, but who else has supported you along the way?
Truthfully, this sounds silly, but not many else, to be honest. My whole career evolution has been what I would describe as seat of the pants, unplanned. When an opportunity came up, I took it, I went there. It's quite interesting as I'm looking for my succession plans and looking for somebody or a team that will come to allow me to move on. And it's really hard to replicate how my experience came out of that. And that's not what people tend to do. There's much more planning. There's much more follow these steps. And I'm trying to think back to the question I'm answering here, but how I got to where I got to was unplanned and we moved a lot. So it didn't really, I had bosses who were very supportive, but I could be cynical and say they were supportive because I did a lot for them and I was very effective at my job. So in a way, it was much more of a quid pro quo than a support per se.
So you were your biggest supporter.
I was my biggest supporter. I know that might sound almost vain, but it's not. It's just when I look back, I think, yeah, it was me and my husband and learning. I did a lot of reading. I loved Mrs. Moneypenny. She became a real sort of icon for me, and I would read her Sunday comments, and through that, I read about more women who were coaching how to succeed in a world where men generally have more say.
I think it's a brilliant message to get across, actually, because if you're not going to be your biggest supporter, why would you expect anyone else to do it for you?
Yeah. It's your career and you should be owning it and driving it and not waiting for somebody to step in on the sidelines or to give you a push.
I saw, I have to confess that I might have been scrolling on social media at the weekend, but I saw a really good, I don't know if it counts as a quote, or a really good message there to show up at the table as if you belong there.
Absolutely, categorically. I came across the term through my daughters kneecapping, and they explained it to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, I am still kneecapping myself. And so every email I write now, every comment, I review it and I go, take that word out, do that. I shift it around so that I'm there because I belong to be there. And
there's no apology.
No apology
there. Yeah.
And actually we do that literally subconsciously. It's so important to look at the language and imagine how a male colleague might have communicated that message. And I'm not saying that you emulate guys, because I don't think that women should. I think women bring something else. But what you have to make sure that you're not doing is saying sorry for something that wasn't in your control. And actually just never say sorry. That's what I think. She says, don't say sorry. Just don't apologize. Find another way to say, perhaps this was mine. But yeah.
So that's brilliant. Great messages to my listeners. Let's talk about business now. So we've talked about like the technical career, and now you're here, your investments and growing businesses. What do you see that businesses are sometimes missing? What would be the advice that you would have to people that are looking to scale up their business? Where do you think people let themselves and their businesses down?
Boy, that's a really tricky one. I would say understanding all the components that a strong business needs. there'll be many things that you don't know. You don't know, you don't know. So I would again say more reading, more research. What are the things when people start their own business? And I would say this is 100% true of every one of the investments that we have made, and they've all been young investments, is that there's been a complete underestimation of the requirement of the individual to put on many hats and to make sure that everything is running true for your business to be successful. When businesses grow and gain momentum, you're able to spread that load. You're able to hire a strong accountant or commercial person. You're able to hire an admin who's going to do your emails or your appointments. When you start out, you don't. It's you. And so what I would strongly recommend is self-awareness. Understand your strengths and your weaknesses so that you acknowledge a weakness and go, okay, but I'm not great at that. I'm going to have to try and mitigate that weakness in some way. So if organization isn't your thing, so you miss appointments or you're late for things or that organization piece, acknowledge it. This is not my strength, but for now I need to try and focus on that, because you don't need to focus on your strengths or your strengths. So being able to step outside and look back and go, okay, what am I really good at? And what am I really bad at? And I would say if I had to put the biggest difference between the men that I've worked with and the women, more of the women understand. In fact, they probably overestimate what they're not good at. Men are typically very unself-aware. They don't know what they're not good at. And therefore they glory on and do that thing badly. And somebody else has to come in and sweep up behind it. But if
I guess it works the other way as well, though, because women maybe think, I'm not good at that. I'm not good enough at that. And they hold themselves back.
They do. And the truth is that you can learn to do anything. And that's the point is, if you think, okay, I'm not so good at that. Okay, what am I going to do about that? I'm not going to just accept I'm not good at that. I need to be better at it because otherwise my business won't succeed. So what do I need to do to get myself better at that thing? And sometimes you give up completely and go, okay, that is not something I want to be good at. I'm just going to give it to somebody else. But at least knowing that you're bad at it means somebody's going to have to do that. If it's not me, it's going to have to be somebody else. So just know your weaknesses, but don't overestimate them. Know your strengths too.
I'm particularly interested about getting you on here because we know that women-led businesses are not funded to the same level as male-led businesses. So it's a real challenge for female business owners that are looking to scale to find the funding. So what's your advice here? What can women do to find the help they need financially?
Well, the first thing that I would do is I would look at what men are doing differently. Maybe they aren't doing anything differently, but maybe they are. So first thing is understand, why is that different? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And if it's not about that, then it's about how you're approaching it. And sometimes women are not reaching high enough. They're not asking for enough funding. They're just aiming here instead of here. So
aim higher, yes.
Aim high is what I would probably say. And ask for advice. Get advice from, if you don't know anyone in that world, go on LinkedIn, go on the other social media platforms and find somebody who does. And you'd be amazed at how many people want to help. So go and ask for it. Ask for help. I'd never hesitate to go, oh, that person knows about that. I'm going to go ask them.
Because people don't say no, do they?
They don't say no.
So what would you be looking for when deciding if a new opportunity is worth pursuing?
I would say we look at the team, the person, the people, first and foremost. It's very important for us, having worked in large industries for a long time. There's a lot of fake people, and authenticity for us is huge. Actually, I do think it's important that you understand your ethos and your culture. because you'll be most effective if you work with others who have a similar ethos. So that's really important for us. And I would say, sort of, my husband's advice to our new that I endorsed is it will take X amount longer and take X amount more money than you think to get there. It's just going to be that way. Look at your business plan and look at, what if it went not quite the way I thought it was? What if it took that much longer? Or this thing went wrong? Or a competitor that's not there today appeared in the wings? Look at what could go wrong so that you can mitigate that. So people who've thought through those things, who have a plan, that's a lot what we would look for.
So I wrote down earlier when you were talking about do your reading, do your research. So that's come up again here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's just so much out there. It's amazing, the material that's out there. So for somebody who grew up when I did, where you had the local library, and when I got to uni, I got the uni library, which was, now the world is truly your oyster.
Absolutely.
It's sifting. Got a lot more information. Now you have to establish what you want to follow and not follow.
So what's the biggest lesson that you've learned over your business journey, Fiona? What have you learned about Fiona?
I'm so much more able than I first thought. If you apply yourself, you can do anything, really. It's that aim high. It's that same thought of trust yourself, trust your guts. If you don't like somebody, it's probably a reason. Don't trust easily. Do not trust easily. Everyone wants a bit of your stuff. So I'm a cynic in that regard, sadly. But I've learned to be a cynic. Is that, I don't know if that's helpful.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Really good advice. So that's great advice. What's the worst piece of advice you were given?
Oh, I know this sounds silly. I can't really think of anything in particular. I've mostly had good advice, perhaps because I only ask people who I value and respect to give me advice.
Now, that's a really good lesson. The worst advice you can get is from somebody who's the wrong person to give you advice.
And I literally, probably, even if I've had it, I forget about it before it's gone anywhere. I just go, I'm not listening to them because I don't respect them. So
Why
don't
listen
value
to that guy down the pub telling you what you should be doing in your business when he's not doing it himself?
Exactly. And they don't know. They just don't know. And anybody who I would say my friends would endorse this, in that if I don't care about somebody, then I don't care about what they say. It's just not important to me. It doesn't affect me. Because I just say, well, you walk down the street and somebody says something, I'll never see them again. So I don't care. So it's about choosing who you accept information and advice and comment from. If you don't value them, their comment is irrelevant.
I think that's really powerful for, I think, a lot of, I'm making a massive generalization here, but that a lot of women tend to be people pleasers and worry what other people think. And actually, it doesn't matter what they think because they're not relevant to you or your business.
You're right. And actually, I hadn't really thought about it till I was articulating that, but that is a part of how I operate in the workspace. And I think it's really important. Women have come to me and said, what about that? And and it's a what if worry, not even an actual worry. It's a, what if that happens? I will go, then you'll deal with it. But it hasn't happened yet. So
don't worry about it yet.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. If one word that your team would use to describe you, Fiona, what would that be?
Collaborative, I think. I hope. It's what I aim to be. I like to carry water for my troops. I think it's a very important aspect of leading. They need to feel that you've got their back. I think it's very important. And I want them to grow and develop. And I work with them to do that.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you a question now that I ask lots of my guests. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, which I think this could be interesting because you've already told me about, I guess you would have been at uni or something maybe at that point. But if you could go back and meet 18-year-old Fiona, what advice would you give her?
I'm almost repeating myself, but trust yourself. You can do so much. Just reach for the stars.
Yeah.
Get after it. I didn't have any concept of what I was able to do at that point. I just didn't. And I think lots of women don't. And they don't always step out into that space. They become worried about the what ifs. And worry about the what ifs when they arrive before.
Fabulous advice. Thank you so much, Fiona. Is there anything else I should have asked you that you want to add to the conversation?
I think it's not that you haven't asked me. I'm thinking about you. Back to your question where you said, what could be done to help women along that road? And perhaps there's great women networking events. There's things like that. So I would say attend them, go to them, and go and find people that inspire you and that will share your worries and talk through what you might do to solve problems. But share, network, and I don't just mean network, develop relationships that help you. I would say if I did one thing, it was developing relationships through the whole workplace and in every way. When I left Halliburton, I had 3 job offers from customers, which I think was a fantastic, what's the right word for me? I felt really happy that they offered me that. It was a real reward for the work that I had put in for them for years. Yeah.
So like you were saying, if you ask for help, people don't say no. So
No.
build the network of the people that you can ask for help and that you can help them as well.
Yes, because then it's time to pay it forward. And I work hard to do that in the organizations that I'm involved in, is to work with women to coach them and show how they can be masters of their own destiny.
That's brilliant. That might be the title of this episode, actually. You're the master of your own destiny.
I like it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Fiona. And thank you to you for listening to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and join the Facebook community at Scale Her Up. It's getting a bit of a revamp at the moment, so watch this space. Please connect with me. I'm Dr. Brenda Hector on social media, and drop me a message to let me know you're enjoying the podcast, or even better, drop us a review. I'll finish by reminding you that only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale their business to over £1 million in turnover than women are. The publication says if, but I've changed it to when we start and scale our businesses to the same extent as men, it will add 250 billion to the UK economy and provide millions of jobs. So ladies, you can do it. Be master of your own destiny and change others' destiny too. Thank you.
I like it. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
A real pleasure interviewing you. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.